right now about that?
Well, Tucker, here's what we know. We know the timeline and the origin story of how this started has changed multiple times. We were initially told it was the activities of Carter Page that started it. Then when the Carter Page saga fell apart, then they shifted quickly to the George Papadopoulos meeting with Alexander Downer in May. And now that that's changing again, they're trying to go back to a 2015 story about British intelligence passing information over here. I lay that out for you, Tucker, to make one simple point to you. The FBI is hiding what I call paragraph 1. When I was a federal agent and I had, say, a credit card fraud case, when you write a report, Tucker, what did paragraph 1 say? Bank fraud investigator so-and-so called you on this day about a stolen credit card number, and then the rest of the case follows from there. The FBI will not and refuses to tell people what paragraph 1 is, and I think it's for a very specific reason.
What do you think the reason is?
I was waiting for you to ask me that, Tucker, but I want to keep talking. So here's what I think the reason is. We're focusing on the pull. Okay, we're focusing on the information that was pulled out of the Trump campaign. The spy we're not supposed to name, call him an informant, I don't care. I'm not getting in the euphemisms game, all right?
It's the same thing.
We're focusing on how... It's the same thing. It's nonsense, okay? And I'm glad you've been hammering people on this because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we've been focusing on how he's been interacting with the Trump sphere, trying to pull information out. The real question here, and the next shoe to drop, and the one we've been on while I've been researching this case, is how was the email information about the Russian dirt pushed into the Trump sphere, Tucker? It was fed to Papadopoulos by a Maltese professor way back in March, months before this formal investigation. Now, let me just drop a boulder on you here. That professor has now disappeared. He was interviewed by the FBI in February. Now, if this is a Russian collusion case, and this guy's the Rosetta Stone, and has the keys to the kingdom, and knew about this Russian dirt, and fed it to a Trump low-level guy like Papadopoulos, then how come the FBI let him disappear after interviewing him in February?
So, I mean, that's kind of the key to the whole story. So this, I mean, that's the genesis story of this investigation,
Yes.
of the Mueller investigation, of all this Russia stuff, which has gummed up the gears of government since day one of this administration. It all goes back to the Maltese professor. I hate to say that because
Yes.
it sounds nutty, but it's true. And we don't know where he is. Why don't we know where he is? And do you think it's possible that this was a setup from day one?
I don't think it's possible anymore, Tucker. If I was a betting man, I would bet my right thumb on it that this was an entrapment operation. Now, who specifically set it up and why is still an open question. It would be irresponsible for me to say, but there's a lot of evidence leading to some very, very suspicious characters. But you just asked, and you posed to your audience the critical question. Stop for a second focusing on the pull. Who pushed the information into the Trump sphere that was going to be pulled out later as evidence they were colluding with the Russians? The answer is we know the guy. So if he was interviewed by the FBI, let's just get to the bottom of it. Yet, Tucker, the guy is nowhere to be found. He's in the Ren and Stimpy land of the left socks. Nobody knows, but the FBI interviewed him in February. Amazing how that happens.
The whole thing is unbelievable. And the more you know, I almost hesitate to learn more because I want to sleep at night. Dan Bongino, thank you for that.